Shocking truth revealed. Millionaire CEO's son chose his maid as an amazing MOM over socialites. Jack sat at the edge of his lavish pool, surrounded by gilded decor and the hum of idle chatter from friends who looked too perfect in their designer clothes. But today, as he turned 30, he felt like a stranger among the glittering faces. His friends who only talked about brands and image, felt hollow next to the genuine warmth he found in his family's devoted housemaid, Maria. Each day, Maria poured her heart and soul into every task, yet no one seemed to see the vibrant humanity in her. All Jack could think about was the tireless love she put into raising her son, Diego, a boy full of dreams and resilient spirit. The sun was shining bright, but inside Jack felt a heavy cloud lingering. He was due to celebrate with an extravagant party, balloons floating in the air and laughter feigned. People would dance and drink, celebrating a life of privilege that still felt empty. It was at that moment he received a phone call that changed everything. Diego had earned a scholarship to a prestigious school. As soon as he heard the news, a spark ignited within Jack. Maria's relentless determination and hard work had paid off for her son, while parties like the one he was preparing for felt light years away from any real achievement. He could feel the disconnect growing within him, bubbling like effervescent champagne. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. At the charity gala shortly after, the room glimmered with diamonds and expensive suits. Jack's father raised his glass, and amidst the fancy wine and mingling, he mocked Maria's role in their lives, belittling her contributions in a careless click of his tongue. Jack's heart raced, a conflagration of anger igniting in his chest. Something snapped within him, and he couldn't hold back. "How dare you?" he shouted, cutting through the superficial laughter. "Maria is more dignified than we'll ever be. Her strength, her sacrifice, those are the real accomplishments, not these empty gatherings." Silence fell, and everyone turned to look at him, shock rippling through the crowd. Jack felt a cocktail of regret and exhilaration, bearing his soul in front of a sea of elitism. His father's face twisted in disbelief, while whispers flickered through the audience. People were staring at him, the son of a millionaire challenging the very foundation he'd been raised in. For the first time he felt free, as though an invisible weight had lifted. Jack stood at the precipice of a transformative moment. He could finally see the world clearly, a kaleidoscope of realities against his own. Days passed, and the aftermath hung in the air like thick smoke. Jack's friends distanced themselves, murmuring about his disgrace. Yet Maria and Diego became unexpected heroes in the community. Jack was caught between two worlds, a crossroads of privilege and purpose. He wanted to ask himself, could he redefine his own sense of success? Would he step away from the gilded cage, embracing the hard-won values he had learned from Maria? As he navigated through the sea of doubt, stirring questions weighed heavy. What legacy did he truly want to leave behind? The answers remained elusive, waiting just beyond the horizon, beckoning him towards an uncertain yet vibrant future. Jack wasn't the same after the gala. The echoes of his outburst played in his mind like a broken record. Each day bled into the next, filled with tension and anticipation. He would walk through the hallways of his sprawling home, adorned with art and privilege, and feel a strange emptiness consuming him. The walls, once a comforting embrace, now felt like a prison. He needed to break free, to reclaim himself from the shadow of the millionaire persona he had been raised to be. One afternoon, while sitting in his carefully manicured garden, Jack spotted Diego playing with other neighborhood kids. The boy's laughter bubbled like a clear stream, bright and intoxicating. There was something electric about the way he chased his friends, his spirit untamed and full of life. Jack felt a tug at his heart. Diego wasn't just earning a scholarship. He was part of a world that thrived on love, laughter, and authenticity. Jack wanted to be in that world, where success meant something deeper than money. He took a deep breath, realizing he couldn't keep hiding behind the facade of wealth. It was time to confront his feelings. He picked up his phone and dialed Maria's number. "Can we talk?" he asked, his voice trembling just a bit. Maria arrived at the house later that evening, her presence a warm light in a chilly room. They sat outside, crickets chirping as shadows danced in the fading sunlight. Jack poured out his heart, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I want to help Diego. I want to make sure he gets every opportunity he deserves. But I can't fight the world we live in alone." Maria listened, her eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and concern. "Jack, this world can be tough. It's built on expectations and unfair barriers. But if you're serious, you can bring change. It won't be easy." Jack nodded, determination fueling his resolve. He could no longer linger in the shadows of his family's prestige. It was time to build bridges, to show those around him the value of true character. With Maria's encouragement, he decided to organize a fundraiser, a real effort to provide access to opportunities for kids like Diego. It would not just be about money. It would be about community, shared stories, and empowerment. Weeks passed, filled with planning, meetings, and more rallies for support than he could count. Jack became a force within the community, and before long, whispers of his ambition reached beyond the neighborhood. However, not everyone was pleased. His father's outrage was palpable. "You're wasting our family's name. This is not how we handle our reputation." His father had barked during an uncomfortable dinner, but Jack was undeterred. Each time he faced resistance, he recalled Diego's laughter, the way it soared above the chaos. With every passing day, he began to feel more like himself, like a man with purpose. As the day of the fundraiser loomed closer, excitement mingled with anxiety. He had invited everyone, friends, family, and even strangers from the community. Jack lay awake that night, the weight of it all pressing on him, his heart racing in the silence. Could this night truly change everything? He needed that change. For him, for Diego, for every child who dared to dream beyond their circumstances. Just as dawn broke, illuminating the room in soft gold, Jack stared at his reflection in the mirror. "Today is the day," he whispered, determination echoing in the empty space as the sun cast long shadows. Jack stepped out, ready to confront not only his past but the very ideals of wealth and success he had once clung to. But would the world outside be ready to receive what he had to offer? The answer awaited him, pulsing with each heartbeat as he approached the unknown. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow that bounced off the faces of those gathered in the community center. Jack stood near the entrance, heart pounding like a drum. The laughter and chatter swirled around him, yet he felt a distance. They were here for a cause, but he felt like an outsider waiting to step into a new world. Maria had been a source of constant support, helping with everything from invitations to organizing the program. Together, they had transformed the room, filling it with colorful banners, photographs of the children, and mementos that told stories of hope and resilience. Jack took a deep breath. This wasn't just a fundraising event. It was a testament to true community spirit. As guests began to filter in, he exchanged pleasantries and shook hands, but all he could think about was Diego. Would the boy's family show up? Did they understand how much this meant? Jack hoped Diego would feel pride in being part of something bigger. He longed to be the bridge that helped kids like him soar. Midway through the event, Jack took the microphone. The chatter softened, and all eyes turned toward him. "Thank you all for being here. Today isn't just a fundraiser. It's a movement. We're here to lift each other up, to break barriers, and to create opportunities for every child, regardless of their background." His voice trembled with emotion, but he held fast. "We have the power to change lives. Kids like Diego deserve a chance to rise above whatever life throws at them." Applause erupted, and Jack felt a flicker of hope igniting. Then a familiar face emerged from the crowd. It was Diego, hand in hand with his mother, Maria. Her eyes sparkled with disbelief, pride, or maybe both. Jack's heart raced. Diego beamed, his excitement infectious. "You're doing it, Mr. Jack," he shouted, breaking the brief stillness. The room exploded with laughter and applause. Jack locked eyes with Maria, who nodded slightly, as if affirming that they were part of this journey together. Just then, he caught a glimpse of his father standing at the back. The man's expression was stormy, a mix of anger and concern, as he spoke quietly with a couple of influential attendees. Jack's heart sank momentarily. Doubt crept in. "Somehow you can't please everyone," he muttered to himself, but Diego's triumphant voice cut through. "Mr. Jack, are we going to build a playground?" The boy's question rang out, echoing Jack's original intentions. "Yes, Diego. And more. We want to create a safe space for all kids to learn and play," Jack responded, his tone filled with conviction. The joy on Diego's face was enough to fuel his spirit. It didn't matter what his father thought. This was worth fighting for. As he dove deeper into his speech, he felt momentum building. They had raised enough funds for scholarships, sports programs, and after-school activities. He could almost see the ripple affect the community coming together, children thriving, dreams awakening. But just as the atmosphere began to feel electric, an unsettling silence fell. Jack's father took a step forward, his voice slicing through the warmth of the moment. "This ends now, Jack. This is an embarrassment. You're tarnishing our family's name with this nonsense." Gasps filled the room, a collective intake of breath as whispers began to swirl. Jack's heart raced, caught between his father's world and the one he was trying to create. "And you'll have to stop it," his father continued insistently. "You don't know how these people think. They'll take what they can get from you." Jack clenched his fists, feeling every eye on him, clinging to Diego's bright smile like a lifeline. "Maybe I don't know how they think, but I know how they feel. And I want to be on their side," Jack shot back, brazen and trembling with emotion. The room held its breath. Would he continue to fight for what was right, or succumb to the pressure? Every heartbeat echoed with the uncertainty of his next move. But before he could react, a voice called from the back. "We believe in you, Jack." Another joined, and then another, until a chorus erupted around him. Jack's pulse quickened. Could he truly be that force of change? Or was he stepping deeper into a battle that would consume him whole? As faces around him filled with encouragement, he felt a spark igniting. Today was the day not just for him, but for everyone out there daring to dream. He could feel the tide turning, but would he be strong enough to ride it? Jack's heart raced, the room buzzing around him like a hive. The cheers of support pushed against the weight of his father's disapproval, filling the space with unmistakable energy. Each shout resonated within him. He stood taller. "We can't let fear dictate what we do," he declared, desperation fueling his conviction. His father shifted, eyes narrowing, but Jack pressed on. "Look around you. This is love, this is community. This is what we stand for." Each hand raised for him, each voice lifted in his defense, felt like fuel to a flame he never knew could burn this bright. Diego's face shone with excitement, and Maria clutched him close, a proud smile blossoming. Jack felt that warmth seep into his own veins. The moment felt electric, as if they were all part of something unstoppable. The faces of gratitude surrounding him, wives, husbands, single parents, each held dreams similar to his, dreams for their children. But the moment was shattered when a low, harsh voice cut through the celebration. "Enough of this charade," it yelled, followed by another ripple of gasps. It was a well-dressed woman from the back, someone Jack recognized from his father's circle. "You're deluding yourselves. Community, it's just a high school pep rally masked as a noble cause." Jack closed his eyes momentarily, trying to block it out, but the doubt crept in again. He turned to face the audience, scanning their expressions. Anger, confusion, uncertainty. He had to regain their momentum. "Isn't today about proving everyone wrong? Can't we show the world that community isn't just about elite gatherings and donations? It's about the kids, their futures." A mother at the front stepped forward, tears glistening in her eyes. "We've fought so hard for our kids, Jack. You've inspired us to stand up. We believe in this. Her voice quaked with conviction, and something clicked within Jack. He looked at Diego, who was bouncing excitedly. We're fighting for you. Show everyone what you can do. Jack shouted, the roar of support rising around him like a tidal wave. He could see it, the change sparking like fireworks in the night sky. But in the back, his father fumed, crossing his arms, boiling. Jack's heart sunk but rose again, buoyed by the joy of the crowd. This isn't just my fight, he added. It's our fight. Together we can make a difference. From the left side, a voice rang out. It was Maria. Jack is right. This isn't a game. We can create change. Let us build a future together. A loud cheer followed. Energy surged through Jack as he looked back at his father, whose face twisted with anger and disbelief. But in that moment, Jack didn't feel the fear anymore. The spirit in the room electrified him. Jack gripped the microphone tighter, ready to shout one final message when suddenly, the doors swung open again. In stepped a group of high school students, their faces painted with determination, each holding handmade signs that read, "We are the change." It was a wave of youth and passion that swept into the crowd, igniting a new surge of enthusiasm. It dawned on him. The community wasn't just here for the moment. They believed in the future they wanted to build. Jack felt ambitious energy coalesce around him, the very essence of rebellion against his father's narrow perspectives. But as cheers erupted, Jack's father took another step forward, his jaw set. You're about to regret this, Jack. You don't know what you're involved in, he warned, as he glanced around at the crowd with disdain, still clinging to an air of authority. Jack's insides twisted. Was he truly prepared for the consequences of what he was igniting? Bringing joy and hope is worth the fight, Jack shouted back defiantly, heart racing. And we will do this together. The room erupted in energy, but Jack felt the weight of his father's anger growing. A storm on the horizon. He had sparked something beautiful, but at what cost? Would he hold his ground against his father's wrath? Or was he about to tumble into a much deeper battle than he imagined? As the cheers swelled, Jack felt an undeniable thrill coursing through him, igniting a sense of purpose he'd yearned for. But behind that exhilaration lingered a gnawing fear. His father's words echoed in his head, a chilling reminder of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Jack stole a glance at his father, whose smirk had twisted into a grimace, eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and betrayal. Don't you see what you're doing? His father bellowed, his voice cutting through the jubilant atmosphere like a knife. These people don't care about you. They're using you to fill their own agendas. Jack's heart lurched, but he refused to let those words take root. That's not true. They care about the future. About our kids. He looked out into the crowd again, searching for strength among the faces. People are ready to stand up, ready to fight for what's right. The group of students, many who Jack had grown up with, filled him with renewed hope. They held their signs high, their voices mingling with the chants of the crowd. Each face reflected determination, a powerful statement that they wouldn't back down. In that moment, Maria stepped closer, her eyes shining with belief. Jack, we're with you, she called out, pumping her fist in the air. Let us show them what unity looks like. As waves of applause washed over him, Jack felt a warmth spread through his chest, soothing the doubts. The support wrapped around him like a safety net. He grasped the microphone with both hands, emboldened by the collective spirit that surged through the room. Today isn't just about my fight. It's about lifting each other up. His voice rang clear, cutting through the murmur of dissent. Together we can build something incredible. A community that nurtures hope, that believes in dreams, that works for the future. The crowd erupted in a chant. Together, together, together. The words pulsed in the air like a heartbeat, shaking the very foundation of doubt. Jack's eyes shifted back to his father, whose posture stiffened with disbelief. The woman who had interrupted earlier now attempted to speak up again. You're all foolish for believing this nonsense, she's wrong, Diego shouted, his youthful voice breaking the tension. We want a future where we can all belong, where our dreams aren't stifled by fear. Another wave of cheers erupted, drowning out the negative voices. Jack could see a shift occurring. The people before him seemed more than just a crowd. They were now a movement, a force ignited by something genuine and fierce. But then the unexpected happened. Diego's mother stepped forward, a quiet woman who often blended into the background. Yet her gaze held deep resolve, and Jack's heart swelled as she raised her voice. We all have a choice to make. Let us choose to fight for each other, for all the children who deserve better. Jack's heart swelled as he observed that the adults, too, began to rally behind this newfound energy. It wasn't only the youth. Parents were pulling together, their fears melting away in the face of collective hope. But then, just as the crowd seemed to reach a feverish pitch, Jack caught his father's eyes once more. The reality of their conflict weighed heavily. Was he drawing the line between familial loyalty and the fight for a better future? Your community is nothing but a facade, Jack. You think they truly want to stand with you? His father's voice sliced through the ebullience like a dark omen, a reminder that the clash was far from over. Swallowing hard, Jack took a deep breath, his resolve setting in. No, this is real. We are real, he called out, filled with conviction. And this fight, it's worth it. As the crowd roared in agreement, a wave of adrenaline surged within him. But so did the realization of the battles still ahead. Would they really withstand the push against their dreams? And as Jack stood there, he couldn't shake the feeling that the next confrontation wouldn't just be with his father. It would force him to confront the truth about himself. Was he ready to break free from the expectations that had weighed him down for so long? His heart thudded as a thick silence settled for just a moment, the energy of anticipation hanging in the air. What path would he choose? A future of his own making, or one dictated by the legacy he was born into? The air was electric, buzzing with mixed emotions. Jack felt like he was standing on the edge of a precipice, trying to peer into the chaos of his own heart. The crowd was still churning with energy, but he could feel his father's piercing gaze like a weight, pressing down on him. He turned back to the audience, striving to cement the moment of unity they had just created. We want to be silent, he bellowed, holding the microphone tightly, as if it could anchor him to the ground. The chants rose again, a wave pouring over him. Fight! 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 Jack shifted, looking not just at his peers, but at the adults who were beginning to take notice. He saw the faces of the mothers, fathers, and even grandparents. Their expressions told a story of reluctant hope, of dreams deferred, now reignited in this imperfect amalgam of humanity. And then, as if drawn by an invisible force, he spotted Maria cutting through the crowd, darting toward him. She reached his side, her brow furrowed, eyes glistening. Jack, do you think they'll come through? That they'll really support us? Her voice trembled, tinged with vulnerability. We have to believe they will, Jack replied, though doubt crept into his heart. If they stand with us, this could be real. What if my dad's right? Maria shook her head fiercely. No, don't. You've started something. Look at them. She gestured out toward the attendees who were now forming small clusters, some signing petitions, others writing down ideas, and a few even gathering to create art posters. It was all blossoming, wasn't it? Jack felt a surge of pride, but the nagging voice that belonged to his father reminded him of potential fallout. Would they really endure the pressure? Would he be left standing alone when the flames of dissent grew too high? The chant shifted slightly to hope. Hope! Hope! And Jack couldn't help but smile. It was infectious, this spirit. As he soaked it in, though, a haunting thought loomed in the background. The very people who were uniting behind him could also turn against him, leaving him stranded in the riptide of judgment. In that moment of anxious reflection, he spotted a large figure stepping through the crowd, his father, arms crossed and expression stony. Jack's breath hitched. This was it. The ultimate confrontation. Don't you get it, Jack? His father shouted, a smirk of arrogance creeping back onto his face. These people don't know anything about real life. They think they can change the world, but they can't even organize a potluck. A wave of gasps met the insult. Jack felt the warmth in his chest turn to ice. This fight wasn't just against the outside world. It was against the man who had shaped so much of his life. He looked at the audience, the fire still in their eyes, and felt a flicker of uncertainty. Yet their trust reinvigorated him. "No," Jack shouted, voice rising over the clamor. "My friends and family may not be perfect, but they care. They know what's at stake and they're not backing down." The crowd echoed his sentiment, voices rising to a thunderous pitch. Jack felt adrenaline surge through him, igniting the flame inside. For the first time, he felt the courage to stand against the very foundation of the life his father had built. But as the cheers filled the air, a small voice within whispered doubts once more. What would it cost him to stand up? Would his choice create distances he couldn't bridge? Jack's heart raced. It was no longer just about public approval. It was about understanding his own identity and values. It was clear now a chasm was developing between him and his father. One step further into this fight, this journey of self-discovery, would fracture that bond irrevocably. Taking a deep breath, he stepped closer to the edge of the stage, sensing something monumental hanging in the air. Behind the roar of the crowd, he felt an undeniable truth welling inside him. The moment hung there, thick with possibilities, and Jack realized he had to decide: would he embrace this new path and all its uncertainties, or retreat back to the safety of his father's shadow? Tomorrow would bring clarity, but right now, the weight of responsibility settled heavily on his shoulders. He knew he had a choice to make, one that would stretch far beyond today's rally. Could he truly reconcile his desire for acceptance with the need to forge his own identity? As he looked into the eyes of those gathered, he knew the answer loomed dangerously close. He just didn't know if he was ready to face it. The ground beneath Jack felt almost surreal, shifting with the weight of the crowd's energy. Their faces etched with hope and determination pulsed like a living heartbeat. With each cheer for change, he felt a steadying force within him. Yet there was no denying the tension coiling tightly around him, especially as he faced the man who had always held the reins of his life. His father. Jack. His father's voice sliced through the air, a sharp command that felt more like a challenge. "You have a duty. Don't betray it." The words fell heavily between them, and the crowd quieted, their eyes darting back and forth between the two. Jack's heart raced, the recognition of a familiar tug-of-war playing out before them. "No, Dad. This isn't betrayal." His voice rang with defiance. "This is about being true to who I am and standing with those who matter." Murmurs rippled through the audience, like the gentle lapping of water against a sturdy rock. The weight of the moment pressed on him, his father's stern expression unable to break the resolve that surged inside. "Who matters?" His father scoffed, his tone dripping with disdain. "You think they'll fend for you when you're knee-deep in reality? They won't be here when things get tough." The sharpness of those words struck like a cold knife, and Jack felt a flicker of doubt sprout deep within him. But he quickly brushed it aside. Could he allow that fear to consume him? Pushing forward, he shouted, "We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're demanding change for our community, for our future. We're here together." His words ignited a fresh wave of excitement, drowning out the shadows of doubt. Maria stepped into the light next to him, a fierce look on her face. "Jack's right. This isn't just about him. It's about all of us." Her conviction bolstered him. "This is a fight for our lives, a fight to be heard. We won't let fear silence us." As she spoke, the crowd erupted into cheers, their voices intertwining in a chorus of passion and belonging. Jack felt himself submerged in it, the waves washing over him as if to cleanse away the lingering uncertainties. His father's face hardened, but Jack could see a flicker of something fear, perhaps, in his eyes. Jack took a step back, processing the moment. For the first time, he felt less like a scared boy in his father's shadow and more like a leader among his people. With every pulse of excitement reverberating around him, Jack's heart raced. Yet it was a dance of possibilities instead of fear. The lonely abyss he once faced seemed less daunting now. The faces around him mirrored a future he dared to dream of, filled with unity and purpose. Yet, as the cheers swelled like an unstoppable tide, A fleeting thought stole into his mind. What would success mean for him? Would it really change anything? Or would he ultimately lose his father in this fight for change? The clash of family loyalty and the yearning for authenticity pulled at him like a tether. And as the crowd continued their chants of hope and determination, Jack felt the pressure building within him. Above all this, one question began to thrum louder than the rest. What would he sacrifice to stand up for truth? He felt the answer was creeping closer, but how could he articulate it in the face of such high stakes? Would tomorrow's clarity illuminate his path? Or would it lead to a decision that might shatter his world forever? Only time would tell. The energy of the crowd throbbed like a heartbeat, rising and falling with each chant. Jack looked around, his newfound resolve igniting a fire within him. Faces filled with passion stared back, faces that mirrored both fear and hope. He could feel the pulse of change. It was intoxicating, but the gnawing worry about losing his father seemed to lurk beneath the surface. "Jack, don't do this." His father's voice boomed over the crowd now, desperation lacing his words. "Think about your future. Think about the family name." His father pushed through the throngs of supporters, his eyes bright with intensity. Jack swallowed hard. Always the family name, always the obligation. But who was that family name really for? The pressure was suffocating. Yet in this moment, he found a sliver of clarity. "If I don't stand for what's right, then what's the point?" Jack replied, his throat tightening with emotion. "You taught me to find my voice, Dad. You taught me to fight for what I believe in." The crowd gasped. Jack's father halted as though he had been struck. A beat passed a heartbeat suspended in time, and then Jack saw something else flicker across his father's face. Regret? Concern? It was fleeting, but it was there, like a ghost in the moonlight. "Listen to me," his father pleaded, softer now. "You're a young man. You don't understand the world out there. It's full of threats and betrayals. These people," he gestured vaguely, his dismissive tone back. "They want to protect you. They're looking out for themselves." Jack closed his eyes, the bitterness of doubt threatening to seep back in. But Maria's voice cut through the fog, ringing clear like a bell. "Hey, look around you. We're family here. We're the ones who have your back." She stepped forward, a living embodiment of resilience and truth. The crowd cheered, a wave of sound washing over Jack, pushing him to take a step toward his father, his heart racing as adrenaline surged through him. "Dad, I'm not asking you to abandon everything you've worked for. I just want to find my place in this world, in our world." His father opened his mouth to retaliate, but the words faltered on his lips. The anger faded, and in its place was a look of deep, piercing sadness. Jack felt his own heart twist. What if his father was right, despite the guilt that seeped through his veins? Tensions hung thick in the air, a mix of personal stakes and collective determination. The crowd was watching, hushed whispers circulating like the wind, waiting to see what would unfold. Jack took a deep breath, anchoring himself in the moment. "Look, I know this isn't easy. It's terrifying," he began, pushing through the fixed expressions of the crowd. "But what do we gain from silence? What kind of future do we build if we're too afraid to fight?" Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as a noise swept through the crowd. A voice called out, loud enough to catch everyone's attention. "They say changes come from the courage of a few. Stand with Jack." A young woman at the front raised her voice, raising a fist that echoed the sentiment shared by many. Jack felt a swell of hope blossom in his chest. Was this the path forward? Could this be the moment that defined him? But then a knot twisted in his stomach as another thought struck him hard. Was he ready to take the step that could change everything, especially his relationship with his father? "Jack." His father's voice cut in sharply as another figure emerged from the shadows of the crowd. Jack turned swiftly, heart pounding again, the air thick with expectancy. Who was it now, and what would they say that could change the face of this fight? This moment could redefine everything again. He braced himself, wondering whose side they would choose and what the consequences would ultimately be for all of them. The figure stepped through the mass, pushing the crowd apart like the parting of waves. Jack squinted, heart racing, as recognition jolted through him. It was Alex, his childhood friend, now flanked by a group of supporters who had joined the throng. Despite their years of silence, Jack felt a mix of relief and confusion seeing him here now. The loud cheers around him faded as Jack focused on Alex's expression, determined, but somehow conflicted. People shifted and murmured, creating a strange sense of intimacy amid the chaos. "Jack," Alex called out, his voice cutting through the noise. "You're not alone. I'm with you. We're all with you." He raised his fist in solidarity, his face bright with conviction. The crowd erupted once again, echoing the unity that Jack had felt for just a fleeting moment. Jack's voice faltered as they met eyes. He wanted to ask about his absence, to confront the years that had stretched between them like an unbridgeable chasm. Instead, he just felt gratitude bursting in his chest. "Your dad's right too, though," Alex continued, taking a step closer. "He loves you, and yeah, maybe he doesn't see things the way you do. But that's because he's afraid of losing you. We're all scared. That's why we're here. We want to change things together." Jack nodded, hearing Alex, but still feeling the weight of his father's desperation behind him. The contrast was sharp. A friend reaching out with empathy versus the cold, hard truth of family expectations. "I don't want to abandon Dad. I want him to see that fighting for what's right matters." As if on cue, Jack's father moved closer. His eyes darted between Jack and Alex, the fury slipping away, replaced by a flicker of vulnerability. "I didn't raise you to be reckless." His voice trembled now, like dry leaves rustling in a threatening wind. "Reckless?" Jack scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. "I'm trying to stand for something that matters. Dad, we can't just let injustice stand." The words hung heavy between them. Silence rippled through the crowd as they absorbed the tension, switching between Jack and his father, waiting for a resolution. "Listen," Alex said quietly, stepping between them. "This is about more than just you two. It's about everyone standing here, fighting for change. They believe in you, Jack. They believe you can lead." Jack looked deep into the eyes of the crowd, feeling their hope and desperation. He took a deep breath, knowing he had to be that leader. But what if he lost everything he cherished? His heart raced, battling the fear that threatened to choke him. It was not just about the future he aimed to create, but also the bridges he might burn in his push for truth. Jack felt the weight of that knowledge press down, his resolve cracking under the pressure of love and obligation. "What do you want from me?" Jack murmured, now just a few steps from his father. Tears threatened to spill as raw emotions churned within him. "I want to fight, but I need your support, Dad." His father's expression softened, the anger giving way to profound sadness. "I want you to be safe, Jack. But if this is truly what you believe in, then maybe I can't be the one to hold you back." The crowd seemed to hold its breath in the moment, a fragile stillness before the storm. Every eye was glued to Jack, waiting for him to make the call. His father peered into his soul, desperate to understand, while the weight of the crowd's expectations pressed heavily on his shoulders. Nervous and hopeful, Jack steeled himself. Whatever happened next would define them all. "Then help me find a way forward," he finally said, his voice steadier than he felt. Tension buzzed in the air, but as Jack looked around, a little flicker of light sparked in his chest. Together they could face whatever was on the horizon, but would his father step into that light? The murmur of the crowd swelled, uncertainty hanging heavily as a cry echoed from the back. "What will you choose, Jack?" Jack swore he felt the world shift around him, and as he stood there, a new voice in his heart, he realized this was just the beginning. What lay ahead was unknown, but one thing was clear. He was ready to lead the charge for change, even if it meant losing everything he once held dear. Before he could ponder too long, the spark of rebellion ignited once more, and with it came the question that loomed heavy in the air. What was he truly willing to sacrifice for the truth? The day of reckoning had finally come. The community center pulsed with anticipation, faces, filled with hope and uncertainty, gathered to hear Jack's next steps. He felt the weight of 1,000 eyes, but more than that, the weight of his own heart, teetering on the precipice of a monumental choice. Jack's father stood close, anger masked by a looming sense of sadness. He could feel the tension, the distance humming between them like a taut string ready to snap. But Jack wouldn't back down. Not now, not ever. He had fought too hard for the unity, the community spirit that thrummed around him, and he wouldn't let it slip through his fingers now. Today, Jack began, his voice ringing with clarity. We stand not just for ourselves, but for every child dreaming of a better future, for every parent filled with hope and fear. He took a moment, scanning the audience, the parents, the children, the countless lives intertwined in a collective struggle. This is bigger than any one of us. It's about breaking chains of expectation and rewriting what success means. Jack, you're making a mistake, his father interrupted, frustration boiling beneath the surface. But the crowd bristled with defiance. Jack could feel the energy shift as people began to chant his name. Jack, Jack, Jack. With newfound strength surging through him, Jack stepped closer to his father, vulnerability mixing with determination. I hear what you're saying, Dad, but holding on to our family's name at the cost of empathy isn't what I want. I want to sacrifice my truth for tradition. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and in that moment, he felt the eyes of his community turn to his father, waiting for his rebuke. But Jack's father merely blinked, a flash of indecision crossing his face. Just for an instant, Jack saw the man behind the mask of authority, the father who loved him even through all the chaos. Your future, his father said, softer now, your future matters to me, Jack. But his voice trembled, revealing the cracks in his facade. I know, Jack replied, feeling a lump in his throat. But can we redefine that future? Can we build something together that's meaningful? I need you with me, not against me. We can bring forth change together. The air thickened with silence. The crowd held their breath, witnessing a father and son facing their fears, their identities, their shared legacy. The moment hung, fragile yet powerful, as Jack waited for his father to respond. Then came the breakthrough. I'm scared, his father admitted, his voice cracking. Scared for you. For what this world can do to me, to you, to us. Jack reached for his father's hand, hesitantly bridging the chasm between them. We can face it, Dad. You're not alone in this fight anymore. No one is. The whispers morphed into solemn agreement from the crowd. Jack could see them nodding, their faith echoing in the silence as the connection between him and his father pulsed with the possibility of redemption. Would they truly unite? Jack's father looked out at the audience, and slowly, the anger melted away. I can't promise this will be easy, but if this is what you really want, what you believe in, then I'm willing to stand with you. Finally, a surge of relief washed over Jack, the tears prickling at the corners of his eyes. Thank you, he whispered, a weight lifting from his shoulders. Together, we can build something we can all be proud of. The crowd erupted into applause, cheers of joy ringing through the room as people rallied around their shared mission. Change was on the horizon, and hope thrived in the faces around him. As Jack looked up, he saw Diego in the crowd, eyes sparkling like the embodiment of all their dreams. With renewed purpose, Jack turned back to the audience, heart soaring. This is just the beginning. We'll lift each other up and create a future where every child has the chance to succeed. A future fueled by love and compassion. In that moment, Jack felt a wave of unity swell. It pulsed through him, igniting excitement that would carry them forward. Together they had declared that success wasn't just about wealth, it was about character, about community, about standing up for what was right. And as they all stood there, intertwined in a moment of truth, Jack understood that he had not just transformed himself but inspired an entire movement. He felt the warmth bloom in his heart, knowing they would face every challenge ahead, hand in hand, side by side. Before Jack stepped down from the stage, one thought echoed through him. This was the moment that defined him not just as the son of a millionaire, but as a leader of change, a beacon of truth for everyone who dared to dream. Now, with every heartbeat, they began paving the path. A path built not from elite expectations but from genuine connection, belonging, and the undeniable strength of community. And just like that, Jack had become everything he ever wanted, and more. A voice for hope and a champion for change. So, if you believe in the power of community, If you believe in the promise of change, now is your moment to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Every single thought matters. And finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now.